Hello fellow late night coders and welcome back. So in this video we are going to finish what we started in the previous one. If you haven't watched the previous video, make sure to check it out. I have put a link to it in the description box below. What we did was basically to prevent the default behavior on link click and then incorporate our own functions to handle page transitions without needing to redirect to another route. So in this video, we will build upon that, and I will use an amazing JavaScript animation library called GreenSock or gsap library to add some animations during page transition to make it more interesting. So before we get started, I have so many interesting topics in mind in addition to the ones that I have already made videos about. So if you're new to this channel, please make sure to hit the subscribe button below and turn the notifications on so that you are the first to know when I publish a new video. Okay, so first thing we need to do is to go to this GitHub repo. I'll put a link in the description of video. This is basically the finished code for part 1 of this video. So if you go to the branches, starter part 1 is what I'm right now at. I will add like a part 2, which will be the finished code for this video, but for the starter, we're gonna use part 1, and then I'm gonna download the zip file, and with that I'll unzip it, and I am going to open that file basically in my VS Code. So as always, what we're gonna do is basically to do npm install here to make sure we have all the packages installed. Again, there are like these folders and files here. If you don't know what these are, I have a video where I explain everything, so make sure to go check out that video. You'll find links to that video basically everywhere in my channel. So let's see. If I start my dev server, which I can do that by npm start, and then I go to localhost just to see what we did in the last video. Eventually we have like these two home and about pages, and we are going from like home to about and then back home about, so we can like go to different pages without having to reroute to basically, we don't see this like refresh or reload thing here to like change. We want to have our like smooth transition there. And then we looked at the back button, we made sure that also works and does what we want to do, and forward button also does the same thing, so it's working fine. Now at the end of that first part, we didn't really add any animations like in and out. What we do here, if we go to about, it's just like very not really eye-catching, or it's not like a good experience. We're just like, we don't give the user the experience that this page is actually changing. We are going to a new route. It just like doesn't look good, and for that we are going to add some animations in this video actually. So for all these animations, we are gonna use GreenSock library. If you haven't heard of it, you have to try it. It's like an amazing library that we use for animations, and I have you can see like in their website greensock.com. I put a link in the description of this video to all these pages, so you go see like there is a lot of things that you can do obviously in their like homepage, all these animations are done with their library. They have a bunch of showcases, like different websites. These are like creative designs and developments, mostly portfolios or like very cool websites that you can go and see. They have a lot of animations, and for that, most of them, they're, if not all, they're using the GreenSock library. In my portfolio website, I've also used gsap everywhere. For example, like if I go to homepage, you see like this like preloader, I have animations there. Then like navigation, text, everything comes into the screen with some kind of animation. And then like some of these you can do with CSS, but some of them you can't really do much in CSS. So gsap is really useful. If I go to, for example, this my process page, and by the way, this transition also is using gsap. They have a great plugin, and that is called scroll trigger. As you can see, as I'm scrolling here, you see this like 3D room is also like changing, and you can use that also in your websites. It's just like amazing. And you can see the same thing, scroll trigger, in the about page of my website, where I like scroll down. You can see like the text animation, and then eventually this like web page, this like earth here is like also animating using scroll trigger in gsap. So that's about that, some like introduction to gsap. But let's get to code and start adding some animations. So all the front-end JavaScript, as you know, it's in this index.js file. And what we're gonna do is in the last video we added all these link listeners and like pub state and everything. But what we want to do for now is to make sure we have some kind of animation when we create our page on load time. So like that would be like if I change this, if I like go to home screen without like any links in the website, I'm just like the first entry point of this website. It could be like about also, but like that's the first entry point to this page, to this website. I'm not like going to different pages from within the website, just like typing the direct URL up here and then hitting enter. That's what load time is. That's what this constructor will be basically called, and then all the functions in there. One of them is this create pages. So when we load the page, this is gonna be called, and then we are creating the page here. Again, I have explained all these in my original video on this Webpack boilerplate setup. So go watch that video and come back and follow this one if you don't know what's happening here. Here we are going to add a let's call it animate in function. So basically this is where we add our animation for the entrance when we load the page. I'm gonna go to, then we obviously need to define this animate in each of our single like home and about page JavaScript file that we have. Because right now if I save it, when we reload it, it's gonna go look at that page and then it doesn't find the function animate in. So we need to define animate in here. And for example, just for homepage right now, if I go to homepage again, now we don't see that error anymore, because if I console.log, you can see animate home in. And if I go back, you will see that it says animate home in, so it's being called and it's there. Okay, so let's explore the GreenSock library a little bit. If you go to their documentation, they have everything explained there. But the main things that we want to work with are these like twins and timelines. Specifically gsap.to, gsap.from, and gsap.fromTo. So I'll explain what all these are. If you know this, what they are, what gsap is, you can like look at the description of this video, and like I have the chapter timeline timestamps for the video. You can skip and go to the next step. So how you can do animations is basically, you first of all, obviously you need to install that package. So I'm gonna do npm install -- save, and it is gsap package. Once it's installed, you can go to package.json. Right now they're in 3.8, so if you're coming from future, just make sure everything works fine. If something doesn't work fine, it might be the version difference. So I installed that, and then the second thing I need to do is to import that to my page right here. And for that, I am going to quickly import it here. Just as simple as saying import gsap from gsap, and now you have access to gsap. And how you basically do your animations is, as I mentioned, the most popular ones are gsap.to, and then or gsap.from, and also from.to. So as the names imply, to is basically we want our page elements to animate to whatever we are defining in this here. If it's from, it means we want them to animate from what we define to the state that the original state that we have. And then from to will be from a state to another state. We define both states. When I say states, since we are working on elements, what I mean is that if you go to like your home SCSS file, this is like our state of like our page, the view that we have for home page. Like we have all these things here, the text transforms or like displays everything color. This is the original state of our website in this home page. And with to, which is the most used one, we need to have two different basically sections inside these parentheses. The first one is the target element. This can be like an element, like a div, or if I go to my home page here, it can be an h1 tag, it can be a tag, it can be like a class, or if you had IDs, it can be anything. All you need to do is just like target that specific element using, let's say here, I'm going to target this home welcome class. That's how you do it, just like with dot, as you would do anywhere else. And then the second section here is you will have like an object with your variables there. So what property of this class, of this element, do you want to change? For example, there are so many properties you can change. I am planning to change the opacity right now here. So I want to change this opacity to 1. So what I have in mind is that when I load it, everything is like opacity 0, and then do opacity 1. Now you can also define delays, like for this entrance, I'm gonna do a 3-second delay and then go to opacity 1. If we just save it as it is right now and go back to our page, oops, not this one, this page here, if I reload it, you see like everything is already there, nothing is happening. The problem is that as I mentioned before, your original state, the opacity is also 1. So you are going from 1 to 1. So you're not just changing anything. So there are 2 ways you can fix it. One is to fix your original state to opacity of 0 for that. And then go here, and when you run it, you will have like a 4-second delay, and then you have welcome home here. So that's the first way you can do that. Then another way you can do that is actually just like get rid of this opacity 0, and as I mentioned, we have also the from type of this gsap animation, which we can use here. And for that, we will say that in 3 seconds after the load, we will go from opacity of 0 to our original opacity, whatever it is. So if I reload that, now it's not there, 2, 3 seconds, and now we see that. So you can use either of these. I'm gonna leave it as from for this video, and then we can continue now with more animations. As I mentioned, you can also target the actual the elements with like h1 tag or a tag. Just to show you an example, if I go back here, so there are 2 ways that we can add new animations. Basically, either we can do another gsap.from and then define our new animation stuff here, or we can define a timeline, and then we don't need to basically add the gsap dot again after this. What we can do is to add all our animations as a timeline just to the previous one. So here, for example, I can add another from, and then that will work without needing to add the gsap dot. As the timeline name actually implies, this means that we have multiple animations that we want them to happen. There are so many parameters we can add to every single one of these animation types. Like in this first line here, you can add a duration here. You can kind of add some gap between the 2, or just, for example, make sure that the second one happens 2 seconds after that this one is done, or it happens 1 second after this one starts. So all those things you can do. But right now I will talk more about gsap in other videos, and they have very good documentation on their website. Also, there is a lot of content on the web that you can go and find all these things. But I will also have videos later on my channel. So here, as I said, I'm going to target the A tags. This is gonna target all the A tags, and this time I am going to work with the Y property of my elements, and I am going to basically animate them in from 200%. That would be a height of these anchor tags, and that's how it's gonna look like. If I save this and go back here, you will see that after like 3 seconds, I'll have the home, welcome home, and then since the browser Y positive direction is towards the bottom and X is towards right, so this is like 0 0, and then like this is positive and this is also right positive and bottom positive. You saw that they came from 200% of the size, the height of them, and animating up, so they were like 200% down, which is a positive direction. They came up to the 0, basically y 0. I don't really like to target the elements like this. I prefer to have the classes, because I might have like so many like anchor tags in my page, and then that's gonna sometimes it becomes a problem. So I'm gonna just like target them by class. This first one I'm doing from like Y direction, and this one I'm doing X direction for the links. Let's see how that works. So I have home here, and my welcome home just opacity. Then you saw like the subscribe image from bottom, and then this one came from left, and that's what we defined here. So let's do some animation also for our about page, since currently we don't have animate in function there. It's gonna be a problem. I'm gonna remove these console.logs for now. That's good. For the about page, I'm not gonna like do too many like for each class individually. I'm just gonna do for the whole thing, which is under this about class. And for that, I am just going to, let's say, do X from negative, like, I don't know, 100 VH or VW. Anything you want. I'm gonna reduce this to 1 second, and that's about it. So I do also need to import my gsap also here to make sure that we don't get any errors. This, by the way, needs to be about. I don't know why I didn't notice it before. So that's about. And then I have home here. Everything is good. Yep. Let's go here. Now I have home here. After 3 seconds, I see the animation. If I go to about, well, you don't see that. Maybe I needed to have also a longer delay here so that we can see that. Oh. First of all, that was the reason, but actually right now this animation is only happening on load. So if I go to the other page from a link in the website, it's not gonna happen, because remember that page transition is done here in this on local link click. So if we want to have the animate in also when we go from one page to another page within the links in our website, after we create that page in this function here, we will also have to animate in everything. So this function, I explained it in the part 1 of this tutorial, so make sure to go check that out if you don't know what is happening here. Now if I go to my, let's say do my home page here, in the load, it's gonna happen during the load. And then if I go directly to about, oops, what do I have, about, that is also going to happen after 3 seconds. And that was like, since I have one animation for all the content. Now if I go back to home, there is no animation out, so that's just gonna go away, but I do have the animation in for the home. If I go to about, that just like suddenly went away, and I have the animation in for about. So that's the part where we take care of animating in stuff in our page. Now, we can also do animate out, and that basically what we want to achieve is like once I click on this, it doesn't just like disappear all of a sudden. We want them to like have some animation. We see the transition happening. We want to make sure that our user knows like there was some like page changes. If like they don't even pay attention up here, there is something happening. And for that, what I normally do is just like copy this one. If I don't want to get too creative, I just change it to, as I mentioned, like 2 is gonna take it back like 100 viewport width to the left, and it was bringing it from 100 viewport from the left in the animate in. And I can do the same for here. I need to change these names, by the way. Animate out, and I do 2 for all these guys. I want to kind of decrease this delay for now. Let's do 1 second here. Then I will do also 1 second for this guy here, so that we see what's happening, but it doesn't take too long. And what we need to do in our index, the main index.js for the application, we want to animate out that page after we're sure that the new page is fetched, the content of the new page, and the request status, the response status is 200. We animate that out and then replace everything, animate in the next page. All right, let's see if that works. Save everything. Now I'm in about page. The animate in works. By the way, we don't need to add animate out when we are like creating the page, because it's just animating in. So animate out is only needed when we are switching between pages inside our website. So I have the about page here. Let's see if I expect to have, so what happened here, everything came from left, and then I wanted it to go back to left. Let's see if that happens. Well, that did not happen. And if I do the about, now from home to about, I don't see an animate out here. So first thing came in mind was maybe I need to await this. Oops, not like that, like this. Await this and then see if that works. And what I notice is that nope, it doesn't work. So what we need to use here for animate out at least is to use JavaScript promises. And what promises do is, as we have in this website, I'll leave a link also in the description of this video, represents the eventual completion or failure of a asynchronous operation and its resulting value. So we want to make sure that we go through this, and then once this is done, then we move on. And for that, we need to define our promises for, let's do for both animate in and out here, to make sure that like we go through the animation and then move on. And I'm just gonna, I have the code ready here. I'll explain what's happening, but just let me for time saving purposes, I will just copy them here. But what we're gonna do is basically we have this animate in. It was just like this gsap timeline. Now we add it under promise, and gsap gives us an incomplete function. Now you can add it after like your last one here, or after each of these like from or to type animations. But if you want to do it like the just target after everything is done, I think you could do the last one also, but also inside the timeline you can add incomplete, and then once it's complete you do the resolve there. So this is basically gonna as they define it here, represent the final like completion. Once it's completed, then we move on in this function here for the rest of the things that are happening in our website. Same thing I am going to do for my about page, and I'm gonna just copy and paste here. Same kind of thing. I'm like returning a promise, and once the animation is finalized, I'll mark it as resolved. And now let's see if that is going to work. So I am going to go to my home page. I do see the entrance animation, and then if I clicked here, I do see the exit animation and the about page entrance. If I go back to home, I saw that quick exit and then the entrance of the new page. So yeah, we can see that everything's working fine. The links are updating here. And then since we have some delays in our gsap, obviously we can like remove those delays, but just like for the purpose of tutorial, I'm gonna keep them here just so we see like the animations happening. So technically we can go further, and I believe you should go further in your websites and add this kind of like animation that you can see actually like you are bring in a transition page and then like showing the new page. And I will have a video probably right after this one to explain how we can add those page transition, like full page transition animations, a bit like those cool things happening. Right now we do see like animation in and out here, but probably you would want to add some kind of more like to make sure your user understands it's happening, and it's just a better user experience in my opinion. So I will have definitely another video where I explain how I, for example, created this one here on my website with the page transition right there. All right, I am going to, as I mentioned, add another branch here, part 2, that will have the final code for this video. And I believe that's all about it. Make sure if you find this video helpful, like it and let others know if you feel like it's helpful for others. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're new and you haven't done that already, and make sure to hit the notification bell also to be the first to know if I have new videos. I think don't also forget to leave comments. If you have any questions, please ask them in the comments. If you have any suggestions, please do so in the comments, and I will make sure to get back to you as soon as possible. All right, thanks a lot guys, and I'll see you guys later.